Have you ever felt completely safe only for nature to remind you who's really in control? That's exactly what happened to me. We were 4 days deep into Sector 7. It's an uncharted, mist-laced part of the jungle that even locals avoid. There's an old saying, if the mountain doesn't bring you to its knees, it will break your will. And so far, the mountain was winning. Our mission was clear: locate Ravi, a 19-year-old who vanished during a solo photography hike 3 days ago. His last known location was somewhere in this sector. We combed through thickets, elephant trails, and streams while his family waited anxiously back at the village. As each hour passed without finding any sign of him, hope dwindled. Then just when we were about to abandon the search, we heard a faint voice calling out for help. Relief flooded our team. We quickly moved toward the sound, pushing through thick foliage until we came upon a clearing. There, slumped beneath a moss-covered fallen tree, was Ravi. His legs were bruised and his face pale with fear. Relief washed over us. One of our team members rushed to his side, kneeling beside him and asking if he was okay. But Ravi didn't answer. He just stared straight ahead as if transfixed by something behind us, his eyes wide with terror. My heart sank. I'd seen that look before in the eyes of villagers who'd encountered the ayahuasca. They call it the spirit of the forest. Some say it's the forest itself, conscious and vengeful. I tried to shake off these thoughts. I focused on getting Ravi out of there. I told the team to stay sharp. We had to get him to the chopper pad. We did our best to keep him calm, but his silence was unnerving. We carefully secured the area around Ravi, making sure nothing would startle him or make things worse. Then we began the long trek back to the extraction site, carrying first aid kits and extra water just in case. Throughout the journey, I kept a lookout for signs of danger, keeping a knife handy. All the while, I couldn't shake this unsettling feeling that we were not alone, but I pushed those thoughts aside. We had a rescue to finish. As we emerged from the thick trees, the open space of the landing zone came into view. It was then that I noticed a strange detail. Every single leaf and twig along our path back to the clearing where we found Ravi seemed to have turned away from the direction of the trail, facing instead toward the center of the clearing as if they were an audience. I dismissed it as a coincidence. Maybe it was just the way the light hit the plants. Or maybe, just maybe, I was letting my imagination run wild. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. We had reached the clearing without incident. The helicopter was almost within sight. I could hear the reassuring thrum of its engines getting closer. Success was within reach. And then the forest shifted. It started subtly. Some branches above us twitched, yet the air was still. There was no wind, no birdsong, just a low vibrating hum that seemed to rise from the very soil beneath our feet. A shiver ran down my spine. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. At that moment, Ravi suddenly grabbed my arm. His fingers dug into my flesh like claws. His eyes wide with urgency, he whispered hoarsely, "Don't let them see you breathe." His words sent a jolt of fear through me. What did he mean? Before I could ask, the sound struck again. It was the snap of wood bending, the groan of something ancient under pressure. The trees, they were moving. Not swaying in the wind, but moving deliberately. Their trunks twisted, their branches contorted as if responding to some unseen signal. Terror gripped me. This was no natural phenomenon. It was something orchestrated, something malevolent. My mind reeled, trying to comprehend what was happening. The roots of the trees were pulling themselves from the earth. They moved with a disturbing speed, forming a grotesque parody of human walking. I knew we had to get out of there fast. The trees were forming a circle around us, effectively trapping us inside their growing ring. I yelled for the team to regroup, hoping we could escape this nightmare together. But it was too late. The forest had other plans. Panic surged through me as I watched two of my teammates sprint toward me, their faces etched with fear. The ground split beneath their feet. The roots, thick and gnarled, tore upward between us, forming a barrier that blocked our escape. The trees were hurting us, driving us toward the center of their formation. There was nowhere left to go. I pulled Ravi close, shielding him with my body. I don't remember how long we stood there, huddled together amidst the rustling leaves and the ominous creaking of the trees. But eventually the movement slowed, the branches stilled and the humming faded. The forest held its breath, and in that eerie silence, the full horror of our situation crashed down on me. Slowly I looked around. The trees had formed a tight circle, creating a small clearing in the middle. Within that circle, the ground was bare, the vegetation sparse. It was as if the forest itself had cleared the area for us, revealing a space that was somehow untouched by the surrounding menace. In the center of that circle, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The roots that had formed the barrier were now receding back into the ground, leaving behind a gaping hole. From where we were standing, it was impossible to see what lay within that pit, but I had a dreadful feeling that whatever was down there was the reason for our entrapment. My gaze drifted upwards. The canopy above had shifted, forming a solid ceiling that blocked out the sunlight. The air grew thick, heavy, charged with a palpable tension. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting, watching. Fear tightened its grip on my chest, making it hard to breathe. The hairs on my arms stood on end. My skin prickled as if sensing our terror. The forest was alive, aware, and it was toying with us. In the oppressive silence, I heard the snap of a twig. I whirled around, my heart pounding, only to see a small lizard darting across the clearing. It disappeared into the shadows of the trees as quickly as it had come, but its brief appearance served as a stark reminder that we were not alone. Something else was here with us, something unseen, something that shared this domain. Whatever it was patient, calculating, biding its time. Suddenly, Ravi stirred in my arms. His eyes, still filled with terror, stared into the darkness between the trees. He whispered urgently, "They don't like noise. They follow vibration." His words echoed in the confined space, amplifying our fear. The trees, the silence, the humming. It all made sense now. We hadn't stumbled into a natural anomaly. We had trespassed into a realm where ancient forces held sway. And now those forces were closing in. Desperation clawed at me. How could we escape this nightmare? I scanned the area, searching for a way out, a lifeline, anything that could lead us to safety. My eyes fell on our radio lying abandoned a few feet away. It was our only chance. I scrambled for it, my fingers shaking as I picked it up. I pressed the button, sending out a silent prayer that we weren't too deep in for a response. The radio crackled to life, sending a surge of hope through me. But as I started to speak, a low growl resonated from the trees. It was a sound that sent chills down my spine, a sound that spoke of raw power and primal menace. The forest was responding, and not in a good way. I quickly ended the transmission, shoving the radio back into my backpack. Whatever was out there didn't want us to call for help, and I suspected that if it found us, it wouldn't hesitate to silence us permanently. Ravi buried his head against my shoulder, his body trembling. From the far end of the circle, our team medic, John, lit a flare. The orange glow revealed silhouettes, human-like forms twisted into bark, their eyes hollow but watching. It was as if the forest itself had taken shape, becoming the very essence of its surroundings. They weren't trees, not fully, but they weren't entirely human either. They seemed to be a fusion of both, a grotesque mockery of nature. Panic threatened to overwhelm me. What were those things? Why had they trapped us? And what did they want? But amidst the fear, a realization dawned on me. We had one shot. If we could reach the edge of the circle, if we could put enough distance between ourselves and those creatures, we might just stand a chance. I motioned for the others, crouching low to the ground. I remembered Ravi's words. They follow vibration. We had to minimize our movement, reduce the noise. As silently as we could, we crawled forward, feeling the rhythm of the ground beneath us. The trees responded to movement, and after what felt like an eternity, we reached the edge of the circle. The forest seemed to release its breath. The tension eased. The growling ceased. I looked back, my heart pounding. The trees had stopped, but I saw them, still turned toward us. With a final surge of adrenaline, I pulled myself over the edge and into the relative safety of the undergrowth. I glanced back one last time. The extraction site was still intact. The helicopter's blades whipped the vines as we lifted off. I looked down one last time. The trees had stopped. But I saw them, still turned towards us. Back at base, I updated our maps, charting the treacherous terrain and marking the danger with a skull and crossbones. But for Sector 7, I didn't draw terrain. I just wrote one word: alive. If you felt the chill in this story, imagine experiencing it firsthand. Subscribe to Jungle Echoes for more stories where nature is not the backdrop, but the force we confront. Each path we blaze, each step we take, we do so knowing that we are not alone in this world. And sometimes the truth is far scarier than fiction.